Hey, Mark's watching MTC Media. So it took Deni Avdija to have a great playoff game in the playing against the Phoenix Suns to start the relitigation of the Washington Wizards trading him. The
Yeah.
Portland when Winger and his front office said that Avdija did not meet their timeline. And I'm paraphrasing, but yeah, pretty much that's what it was. He didn't meet the timeline of the Wizards tearing down to the studs and rebuilding back up. And social media, especially X, has lost its mind, and it has been in two camps. There has been the Wizards fans saying, see, here you go with the Wizards. As soon as they had this guy, he was really, really good. They gave up on him for no reason because of this idea of tearing down to the studs and rebuilding. And look what happened. And then there's the other side that says basically, this is hindsight on steroids because where the Wizards would be if they did keep him is not where the Portland Trailblazers are, basically. That he probably would not be the same player in this environment than what we're seeing in Portland. Now, here's why I will say, what we're seeing in Portland, especially this season when Avdija has put up some great numbers where you've seen probably what the pre-draft people who really liked him thought he would become. Well, we saw it during the summer in Eurobasket because this is how he played. How he's played this season is how he played in Eurobasket for Israel. So, I mean, I've seen it. It was on a different platform, in a platform that's uber competitive because I was seeing Eurobasket not only playing for your country, but, you know, when we talk about those type of competitions now, it's full of NBA players just because the amount of international players in the NBA now is to a number that when you're watching Eurobasket, you know, on each team, you know, a series of people, even if you never watched them play simply because they play in the NBA. So Avdija, you know, showed you what he was capable of when he is that best player on the team. Now here in Portland, I don't know if Portland necessarily has a best player. I think they have players who on a given night can be their best players, whether that's Avdija, whether that's Holiday, whether that's Kamara, I can go on and on and on. Some nights it's been Donovan Clingan has been their best player tonight. So I don't think the way that we traditionally define best player, I don't necessarily know if Portland has a best player, but I think that also plays to Avdija's strengths, that on any given night, he might be a guy that uses his length and ability to dribble in order to create for other people. Maybe on some nights he's playing more off the ball. On a night like last night where he got it going, he was more on the ball and was getting right to the front of the rim in clutch time. He was getting to the front of the rim. And that's the power of Avdija. Now, I don't know what would have happened in Washington. Could Washington have put a team together that would have allowed this version of Avdija to exist? I don't have the answer to that question. I do know when the Winger group got here, was that something that looked foundational? No. That doesn't mean that you couldn't move pieces around and gotten there. Maybe you could have, maybe you couldn't have. I know it didn't exist. So that's where I think some of the criticism of Winger and his team, is kind of unwarranted because that was something you had to look at that team and say, okay, we're going to take a bunch of veterans and we're going to make them a sum of all parts team. And then we're going to sprinkle in a rookie or two along with the trades, because here in Washington, you don't really attract free agents. So this would have had to be trade this, trade that, trade this, get maybe 3 playing assets and maybe an asset that's a future asset or a draft asset. And so Do you bring in a new group and a new group who have traditionally built the way that they're building right now, and all of a sudden they're building in a different way? It's kind of like when you hired Wenger and brought him in, you brought in a guy who specializes in tearing to the studs, building back up. So that wasn't even the type of GM you brought in. And then the prior GMs tried to do something similar and did not succeed. And that was Ernie Grunfeld, and that was Tommy Shepard. They tried this way before Michael Winger got here. They tried to build that way. It was always bring in veterans, don't worry about future draft assets. We want to be able to make the playoffs. Maybe we get a playoff series or two. That's playoff money for Monumental, so on and so forth. The whole idea of Winger and his group coming in was you were going to build something that's not only long-term, but also build something that would make you threaten to go deep in June. Well, where the Wizards was, that was going to be a multi-year process with no guarantees that it will succeed. No guarantees. But it was also saying we're getting off of the hamster wheel where we're playing to be somewhere between 6 and 8 every year, or 7 and 8 every year prior to the play-in tournament. Whereas now, you envision someone like a Tommy Shepard or Ernie Grunfeld, and it's just like, yo, brother, we get 7 to 10 every year, we can get a game, and then maybe get a series behind that. Bet we'll take it. Well, the whole idea is that it was time to get out of that posture. And so keeping Avdija, would you have stayed in that posture? If so, then, you can't blame the Winger group for acting in that fashion. And if you really wanted that and for it to resemble what the Blazers have done, then to be honest, you would have to have brought in a GM who specializes in that. You would have had to have found the right coach to be able to coach that in order to achieve that. And you know what? There would have been no guarantees in that. And we have seen that strategy for years. So I can understand some of the true Wizards fans going, oh, shucks, I can't, this kills me. I can also understand people who feels like it's a bit of revisionist history. Marcus Washington, TC Media.